Well, thank you everybody for coming today. I'm going to leave this slide up just for a second. This particular panel today is sponsored by the Pre-Health of PAMSA, the Asian Pacific American Medical Students Association over at the College of Medicine. And this is the undergrad chapter. And we've asked different clubs and organizations to sponsor different panels that we have here today for the Expo, and this one is being sponsored by Pre-Health of PAMSA. So as you see, as students that might be interested in looking for a club or organization, they have their general meetings from 6 to 7 every Monday in social sciences, room 411. And this is information about them. And I'm sure we'll have one of our students put the information, contact information for Pre-Health of PAMSA if you want further information, or take a shot of the QRT code there. So let's go ahead and remove that. Thank you. And so I'm Josephine Jen Morgan. I'm the coordinator of the Pre-Health Professions program here at the University of Arizona. We're located over at the Bartlett Academic Success Center over right behind Bear Down Gym. And so on the 4th floor, I have two of my colleagues here with me today. I have Ethan Bull, a pre-health advisor, and Neti Gupta. And so we also have two pre-health ambassadors. We have Sydney, and we also have Inel. And so they're going to be helping us today. Actually, our expo is really run by students, our pre-health ambassadors. And so they help us with the facilitation and identifying what speakers to bring on board and things like that for the planning. And they help us do outreach. And in fact, the application is out right now. So if anybody in the audience is interested in becoming a pre-health ambassador, feel free to contact either one of our two, Sydney or Yaneli, or any one of our other pre-health ambassadors. Neti runs a program. That application is open right now. Our current pre-health ambassadors are actually the admissions committee. They will review every application. They will choose who they want to interview. We do interview with a multiple mini interview virtually. So it's good experience, even if you're an applicant, that you go through a virtual MMI. But they get to be the selection committee. They get to be the interviewers. And then we support them as pre-health advisors in the process. So we're looking for about 3 or 4 individuals. So if you're interested, we'd love to have you. Check it out. So on behalf of the A Center and the Pre-Health Professions Advising Program and the Pre-Health Ambassadors, I want to welcome you today. It's really our pleasure to do this program. It is one of our signature programs. We have it every spring, primarily focused for those students that are actively ready to apply. And then also for any freshmen, sophomore, juniors who want to get a heads up on what does it look like in the end run about the preparation and application process to their health profession. So the expo is every spring. Every fall we have something called Blast, and that's focused on freshmen, sophomores. But again, we invite juniors, seniors to attend, and our pre-health ambassadors actually run those programs. And so we're really, fortunate to have a really dynamic group of pre-health ambassadors. So with that in mind, let me just also let the participants know that by attending this panel or any other panels, we have one more after this, which is the health professions student panel. We're going to be doing a drawing for a package of MCAT review books and their Kaplan. The value is about $500. If you're in another profession that you're interested in, dentistry, pharmacy, optometry, we actually have review books for those too. So if we draw a name that is not medicine, which is not MD or DO, we definitely have GRE books and DAT books. And so we definitely can have that material given to you once we do the drawing on March 1st. So with that in mind, this particular panel is our health profession diversity panel. So we have 6 panelists that will be here today to share their experiences with you. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Sydney.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Sydney Pear. I'm one of the pre-health ambassadors. I'm a 3rd-year undergraduate student studying family studies and human development to pursue PA school in the future. Before we begin, we would like to recognize that we respectfully acknowledge the University of Arizona is on the land and territories of Indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being home to the Odom and the Yaqui. Committed to diversity and inclusion, the university strives to build sustainable relationships with sovereign native nations and indigenous communities through education offerings, partnerships, and community service. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Yaneli for introductions.
Hi, my name is Inel. I'm a junior at the U of A, and I'm studying biochemistry and Spanish with a minor in public health. And for career goals, I hope to become a doctor, specifically in emergency medicine. But now I would like to take the time to have our panelists introduce themselves. And whoever wants to go first, we can just do this popcorn style.
I can go first. My name is Angela Monatachi. I'm from Palm Springs, California. I started undergrad as a theater major, but ended with a psychology degree. And right now I am currently a PMAP student. It's the pre-medical admissions pathway program. And I'm starting my first year of medical school this July.
I can go next. I did my undergrad at U of A. I was a care, health, and society major and a public health minor. I'm currently I'm in dental school at UCLA, and I'm also from Los Angeles.
Hey guys, I'm Kairavi. I also did undergrad at the U of A, and I did my major in molecular and cellular biology at the time. I'm currently a fourth year student in podiatric medicine, which is foot and ankle medicine. And yeah, I look forward to speaking with all of you.
I can go next. My name is Melissa Nocera. I also went to undergrad here, and then I went on to get a master's at a school called Charles Drew University in Los Angeles. And now I'm first year medical student here at U of A College of Medicine.
Hi, my name's Ariana. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. I also did my undergraduate degree here at the University of Arizona. I got my degree in pre-veterinary medicine, and now I am currently a second year student and part of the inaugural class of the College of Veterinary Medicine here at U of A.
And just to let you know, I did receive information from two of our panelists unable to make it. So Marco Vasquez is unable to make it right now, and then Morgan McGill. So we have all our panels here. So go ahead and take it away. Throw the first question out there.
Wonderful. I think to just kick things off, I wanted to ask, how did you guys choose your current profession or your current pursuits to profession? And did you consider others along the way?
Okay, I can start, I guess. So yes, I did consider others on the way. So initially when I was an undergrad, I thought I wanted to go into pharmacy, but then when I shadowed and got more exposure to the profession, I decided that it really wouldn't be for me. I felt that in 10 years and 15 years, it's going to be something that I don't think I would be excited about. So that's when Josie came into the picture, and she helped me out a lot in changing my major, changing my career path. And I knew I wanted to go into some form of medicine. And I considered MD and DO after undergrad, but during that time, I was also applying to jobs, and I began a job in a limb salvage clinic at Banner U of A. And that really exposed me to foot and ankle medicine, to podiatry. And before that, I did not even know the scope of practice that podiatrists had here. So that really inspired me to go into it. Most of our patients were diabetics who had, uncontrolled diabetes, type 2, type 1, and they had ulcers on their feet. They had gone through several amputations of their toes or feet or even legs. And so this was the patient population that I was working with daily. And not just that, I mean, our podiatrists, did a lot of elective things too, like bunions and hammer toes and fractures and all of that. So having that job for about 2 years was really what introduced me to podiatry. And then after that, I just knew that there was no going back, and I wanted to do that.
I can go next. So I'm kind of the opposite. Yeah, I have not considered any other professions. I fell in love with animals when I got my first dog as a child. And she kind of really introduced me to the extent of what we call the human animal bond and like what we can do. So I was just kind of like stayed on that path until I got to high school, and that only confirmed for me when I shadowed. I had to do a research paper I was taking dual enrollment credits in high school. So I had to do a research paper on my career and shadow a veterinarian, and being in that setting only confirmed it for me. So once I found out that U of A had a pre-veterinary degree, which is actually hard to find, at least in the state of Arizona, other schools don't have a pre-vet degree. They have like zoology, biochemistry, microbiology, just very general stuff. But here they had it very specific and focused. So that was an easy yes for me. And then I was actually waiting for the college to open because they had told me when I started undergrad that the college was in the works. So I graduated a year early, moved back home with my parents, and worked at an animal clinic to get experience for a year and a half. And again, only confirmed my passion for it. And then I applied for school and got in. So I've been on this path for a very long time. And I'm almost done. I graduate next year, and I'm like super excited to finally be doing what I love for the rest of my life.
I can share next. My path is quite long, so I'll try to shorten it best I can, but include all the fun stuff. So I wanted to be a doctor at 14. My grandfather was a urologist, and then my uncle on my father's side was a traditional Indian medicine man. So I kind of had medicine on both sides of my family. And in honors biology, I loved dissecting and that whole class. So I decided at 14, that's what I wanted to do. But at about like 16, I also fell in love with theater and really wanted to make it as an actress as well. And I said I would heal through laughter and things like that. So healing was always a part of it. And then when I started undergrad as a theater major, the program just wasn't a good fit for me. And I also ended up in the hospital with an appendectomy. And it reminded me of wanting to be in this field, and reminded me of what I loved when I was 14. And so I went back to school and I told my advisor I want to be a biology major. And they actually told me that I would run out of scholarship and to pick something else, basically. And at that time I was young and I listened. So I spent about a year undeclared. And then I chose psychology. My mom had just gotten her master's and I kind of liked the work she was doing. And again, she was healing in a different way. So I said, cool, I'll do that. So I graduated with psychology degree. And I really tried to make it work for me, figure out what I wanted to do with it. But during that time, I was also working in food and beverage and saving up money to figure out what I was going to do next. And I asked myself, if money wasn't an issue, my age, that didn't matter. What do I want to do? And it was always medicine. So it's been a very long road, but I moved to Tucson. I spent some time taking classes at community colleges as well. I'm enrolled here to do all the prereqs. And so here I am.
Thank you all for sharing. So our next question is, what was your biggest challenge transitioning from being an undergraduate to a professional school? And particularly if you identify as an underrepresented minority?
I can go. I think my biggest challenge, especially going from U of A to UCLA, was definitely the quarter system, adjusting to that workload and it being so fast paced. I was not ready for it, but like it's definitely something that you adjust to. Being a minority student, coming to UCLA, I guess it wasn't a challenge. They are very, very diversity and inclusion. That is like their biggest thing here. So coming into that, like I felt so welcomed, like more than I've ever felt before. Like there's such like a tight-knit community here. And even like we're close with like the medical school and the public health school and the nursing college. So it's so nice having like that community that I can always fall back to. So I'm Black and Hispanic. I mean, yeah, I'm Black and Hispanic. So it's like I always have like the Black group of students, and then it's always like I can go with the Hispanic students, and it's just like I love having that community here. It's definitely something that I loved coming into UCLA. Yeah.
I can go. I agree with Malia in terms of how inclusive U of A College of Medicine is with diversity as well. My classmates it's a very diverse group, and I feel very comfortable and welcomed. And I really appreciate that the school really implements a lot of inclusion and teaching us about diversity and the importance of it into our curriculum, which I think is really important. As for my biggest, I guess, setbacks or hardest things to overcome going from undergrad to medical school, I think it's just the course load and how much content you're responsible for. Especially at U of A, our preclinical years is accelerated. So instead of having a full 2 years before we start our clinical rotations, it's 18 months. And so with that, it becomes a lot of content shoved into a short amount of time. And so that's definitely something that you have to be able to adjust to and know how to really prioritize your schoolwork while balancing having a life as well. It takes a while to kind of get a hang of things, but eventually you'll get there. But that definitely was probably the biggest challenge, but I'm now almost done with my first year. And I think I've done a pretty good job of doing that. I feel like my classmates would probably say the same. So it's a lot to adjust to, but it's definitely doable.
Yeah, my experiences are about the same as Melissa with like diversity and inclusion with U of A. I'd say the big thing for me as a minority is I'm going into veterinary medicine. Veterinary medicine, at least in the United States, is known as the #1 widest profession. So at least just Black students of veterinary medicine, we will make up less than 2% of the field. So there's not a whole lot of us. I met my first Black mentor here in the program. He's a neurologist. He taught us our neurology course. So if that gives you any idea, I didn't have anybody that looked like me or a face I could go to, which is very hard. So that's something that can be a little bit discouraging, I guess. But again, like they said, the programs are very focused on increasing that diversity and making sure that we feel safe. And at least in my program, we're not just numbers, we're not just students, we're individuals. So I think depending on the program that you're applying to, I think that's a good thing to look for, is making sure that you have professors and staff that you can go to that are gonna like know who you are and care for what you need as a student. Not gonna just kind of push you to a side, you're not another number. And like they said, the course load, the U of A vet program is also accelerated. Most programs are 4 years. When you get like summer breaks, we go through the summer here. So we have 3 semesters, fall, spring, and summer, with some 1-week breaks sprinkled out throughout the year. I start my clinicals in August, and I think I would say it probably took me the first semester to get everything figured out, because like Melissa mentioned, in medical school, the course load and the acceleration is very heavy, and sometimes you don't know what to do. But I think that it's important to know that it's okay to take the time to figure that out, because everybody's different. I would say the important thing is like knowing yourself and knowing your boundaries, and knowing that it's not the end of the world if something doesn't get done right away, or if you miss an assignment. We tend to beat ourselves up really hard because we grow up trying to get good grades to get to this level. And so one thing I've had to learn is like to not beat myself up so much, because I know I need the rest. Like if it's not going to get done right now, it's like, okay, I can wake up and worry about it later. So I think just know that it's all right to take time, and know that you don't have to beat yourself up if something doesn't get done, because your mental health and your self-care is just as important when you're doing these programs.
I think for me, so yeah, I'll agree with all of these guys in terms of the course load. Yeah, someone before I started school told me, that med school is like drinking from a fire hose, and that couldn't be, more true. Like that, it exactly is like you're getting, bombarded with information every day, and you just have to keep up. So it's not even the information that it's hard, it's just at the pace at which it's thrown at you that you have to learn to keep up with. So that's definitely difficult. But another good thing that I realized is that you don't have to study hard, you have to study smart. So you have to find that groove, you have to find those techniques that work for you in how you're going to prepare for a test or how you're going to prepare for an assignment. And you have to stick with it. It takes time. I'm not going to try to lie about that. It took me time. It takes everyone time. But once you get that hang on things, you realize that it's not about knowing every little last detail. It's just about knowing what's gonna, it's about knowing those big points, and like everything does tie back together. So, and when it comes to diversity, I think one of the biggest things that I faced as a woman of color is just the fact that podiatry is an extremely male-dominated field, even more so than than our MD and DO counterparts. Like, for example, out of my whole class, less than a third of us are women. So, but all you can do about that is that you have to make sure that when you're out there, when you're on your rotations, when you're in the clinic, all you have to do is you just have to prove yourself. If you know your things, if you know your stuff, nobody's gonna treat you like anything less than anybody else. So, and it always helps when you have the encouragement of your male classmates, and all of my male attendings on rotations have been so encouraging. So you have to realize that even though there may be less women, the male in the field are there for you. They always have your back. And everyone's gonna face that situation in podiatry, but I feel like eventually it does get better, and it has gotten better, because I have heard stories when it wasn't. But I feel like now, everybody has each other's backs, even whether you're a woman or not. So I think that's a big thing that I've learned.
Everyone's mentioned almost everything. I agree with what's been said so far. For me, because I kind of took some time after undergrad to work, coming back into the graduate program and PMAP was a little challenging just to make that adjustment. Learning how to make time for homework and studying for exams is something that I wasn't used to for a few years. But it's just something that you get used to. And so I encourage people that even if they take some time off, like, it's very possible to come back to school. And especially with the PMAT program, it starts off pretty strong. Your classes are 3 weeks, 5 weeks, so it's really intense. But they're one at a time. And then when the fall semester comes around, you have multiple classes at once, just, like undergrad. So that was also a transition, just working on priorities and time management. But it's possible. And then for diversity, one of the many reasons I love University of Arizona is the emphasis on diversity. I'm Comanche, I'm Native American. And so when I was looking at statistics on how many Native students apply to medical school or are in medical school, they were really low. I can't remember exact numbers, but maybe, 0.2% or 0.02%, I mean, just really low. Which was frustrating to see, but I think that coming here, I feel that my background is appreciated and respected. And so hopefully, that doesn't discourage other people. I mean, like I said, the university is really accepting and supportive of that.
Great, those were all really great answers. I know that a lot of you mentioned the extensive fast-paced course load. How do you handle that kind of stress in professional school, especially with any of the stressors that may be related to your diversity as well?
I think for me, it's knowing when to tell yourself to stop and to make time for other things. Like kind of like Ariana was saying, how you really have to make sure you're taking care of your mental health, because that's the most important thing, especially when you're going through such like a rigorous program. And for me, at least, like for medical school, there's so much information that like realistically I could be studying 24/7, and there's always something to do. Even if I finish my to-do list, there's always something else I could be doing. And it's just kind of understanding that don't feel bad if you don't get to everything. You need to prioritize yourself and know when to stop and know when to, okay, I'm going to take dinner and watch an hour of TV. Like I did enough today, and like not feel guilty about it. I think that's just a really important thing to work on, because I wasn't like that at first. And like you feel down on yourself because you're not finishing everything, but you just have to take it day by day, let yourself have breaks, and like give yourself that grace.
Something that I found that really helps me is to always set like a goal for the day. So the way my program is set up too is a little bit different. We have a flipped classroom style. So what that means is that we get our homework before class starts, and then instead of being lectured at, when we get to class, we apply what we learned in our homework to real clinical cases. So I'm always have like work to do. It's like always cycling, like it's just like never ending. But one thing I do is that like I look at all the due dates for things, and I'm like, okay, what are these things due? What is doable today? Maybe like today I want to get Monday and Tuesday's homework done because I've only got like 3 classes total out of those 2 days, like this upcoming week. And that's what I'll try to sit down and do. If I did not even make it to all of that today, but that's okay because I'm on break technically. So, but I think it's just knowing to like set a goal. And if you accomplish that goal, great. If you don't, but you got close, I think it's knowing that it's also okay, like Melissa just said. And then again, like just knowing yourself, I need to be able to, when I come home, to relax and rewind. I also know that after 6, 7 o'clock, like my brain is not functioning anymore. I'm not learning any information. I'm not taking anything in. I might as well just be staring at my homework and going through the motions. And I know that about myself. So I plan my life and my homework kind of around that as well. And then like Sundays are a day that I take time to relax. I don't touch any homework. I spend that day doing absolutely nothing. I'm always in my bed. It's the day I talk to my family. So I think it's just setting your boundaries for yourself and knowing like that, and then just having your goals for the day or for the week have really helped me, especially with like how much of a course load that we have.
Yeah, I totally agree with what these guys are saying. What's important is to not lose track of the fact that you have to take care of yourself. Because like Melissa mentioned early on, I was like that too. You know, I wasn't thinking about what I'm eating, what I'm doing with my day. I was just all about, I have to study, I have to study. There was like nothing else on my plate. But you know, you'll quickly realize like that will catch on, and you'll realize that that's not the only priority in life. You have to, if you want to hang out with your friends, it's okay to do that. If you want to pick up the phone and talk to your mom for half an hour, it's okay to do that. Like, there will always be something left to study, and there's just never going to be, you're just never going to be done. You'll never feel done. So a lot of it is to learn how to just accept that feeling, because you'll realize that even though you keep feeling that way, you'll still succeed. And just because you go through a certain PowerPoint, you know, the 5th time isn't going to guarantee you a grade. And a lot of times you'll also realize that getting an A+ in every class is not the goal here. The goal is to make sure that you learn what you need to learn. And if that means that you get an A- in 2 classes instead of an A, then that's okay. You know, at the end of the day, those things they're important, but like they're not the only thing. So take care of yourself, get sleep. I mean, I can't even emphasize that enough. People tell me about pulling all-nighters. You know, everyone did it in undergrad. I did it in undergrad. And I mean, if I could go back and kick myself, I would. Don't do that. You know, take care of yourself, like sleep, eat healthy, work out, whatever it is that helps you relax, make time for it, because studying and your books are never going to leave you. They'll always be there. So you just have to know when to give it a break. And that's, I think, the best thing you can do for yourself.
I just wanted to add on to that about the sleep part. Remember to sleep, because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not finished yet. And I do that too. I'm like, I'm not done studying. I need to study like a little bit more. And then it gets later and later and I forget to sleep. And then the next day I'm tired. And always remember to sleep. Sleep is so, so important. It is so important. And I think a lot of people forget that. And also adding on to doing things that you like to do. I like to wake up and exercise and like start my day like that. So then I wake up and I'm like energized and I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna start my day. I'm gonna do this and this, and having a set schedule and everything. But sleep is the biggest one that I think a lot of people underestimate.
One technique I've been practicing is breaking up my to-do list based off of priorities. So I have one section where it's like, this has to get done because there's a deadline. The other one is like, it should get done, like hopefully it will. And then the last one's like, if I have time, I'll get this done tonight as well. So that just kind of helps me stay on track, make sure that I'm focusing on the most important pieces of my week, because like everyone said, you just can't get to everything. And also self-care is like, you know, a really important theme. I think that when you choose to, you know, spend time with your friends or family or go do some fun activity that you truly enjoy that time that you take, because, you know, it's easy to say, okay, I'll go to this birthday party, but you're constantly thinking about all the things you have to do. So really, if you make that choice to have fun, really have fun, and just know that you can pick up all the other stressors later. And then also maybe like not waiting till like breaks. I've heard of people, including myself, I did this in the past, but like I would just power through until winter break. And then oftentimes I would get sick because I had not been taking care of myself the whole time, or like spring break, summer. So I think it's important to add little things in your day so you're constantly keeping up with your self-care. So whether it's just like, taking one more minute in a warm shower, or taking a walk, just little things I think go a long way.
Cool. Thank you all for sharing. I will definitely be using some of those tips. So earlier we did talk about diversity, especially you guys were talking about in your schools. So another question we have is, how much does your school focus on diversity and specifically training individuals to work with diverse populations?
So I can kind of speak on that a little bit. My program, we have a course that we've been taking since day one. It's called Professional Skills. And it kind of encompasses all of that: client communication, how to take care of yourself as a veterinarian, how to take care of your clients and your patients, setting your own boundaries. And diversity is also a huge part of that. Like knowing people's diversities and their religions and their beliefs, like whatever it is. So that's kind of how my college works through that, is teaching us like how do we handle those situations, and like what can we say to make people feel comfortable to be able to express their feelings, and to not be to be all inclusive for everybody. And then we also have a specific DEI chair. We have 2 people that run that department, and they do activities throughout the year as well to get students involved. And then like for Black History Month this month, something that I did was every week I gave about 2 facts about Black history that many people don't know about, something that you don't learn about in school. So I think it's just a little part that we as students can do as well.
So for my school, I go to Midwestern University up in Glendale, Arizona. So I don't think we have like a particular course, like she just said, about this, but there is, when we go out on rotations, our school is really good about making sure that we're rotating through a variety of settings. So, you're able to see and meet and work with different patient populations. So, I've worked with female attendings, practices run solely by females. I have been to clinics and hospitals where the primary patient population is Hispanic or it's Native American. I've worked at VAs, so the patient population is all military retired personnel. So there's a lot of diversity that our school makes sure that we see when we're out on rotations, because that also helps us realize where we want to do a residency, because there's several residency programs that are at VA institutions around the country. So, it helps you understand, if you want to be in a rural setting or not, if you want to be in a VA or not, or like what kind of challenges each patient population is facing outside of the hospital, because that affects their care, obviously. So it really helps us in learning, how things change when a certain set of people have unlimited resources outside of the clinic versus when they don't. It's something as simple as having their dressings changed, daily. What kind of help do they have? What kind of, are they traveling from very far away? Are they going to be able to come back for follow-up appointments as often as we need them to? So those things are what our school helps us focus on, by giving us the opportunity to work in these variety of healthcare settings.
For us, we have a few required sessions each block, and they're all different, but they basically are trying to help us or expose us to patients of different backgrounds and how to better treat people, and kind of expose us to the different health inequities that we'll face when we're practicing physicians. And that could be people from different socioeconomic statuses. I think our last one was about people with disabilities. And so they kind of just give us a wide range of just the different type of populations we'll be working with in the future and how to address them and how to address our implicit biases that we all have, or how to react to someone if they say something that we don't appreciate. And just kind of, I think they're just preparing us, which I really appreciate. And I think we also have a good exposure in the hospitals and the clinics that we're able to volunteer with they have a wide range of different patient populations, which I really appreciate. A lot of the clinics here are student-run clinics, and they serve patients that primarily don't have health insurance and are on a low socioeconomic status, and which will be different if you're volunteering at like an outpatient clinic or something like that. So they really do give us big exposure to the different type of populations out there.
Okay, great. Well, I know that you guys talked a lot about this kind of specific education. Have you had any experiences working with diverse populations where you felt more of a particular connection? And how did this differ from interacting with diverse populations at the U of A?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Sorry, you're okay. So the question asks, what experiences have you had working with diverse populations in health professional school, and how did this differ from interacting with diverse populations at U of A? I guess we can also just ask, I guess if you have any particular stories that you've been going through, like maybe during clinical rotations or during like just different times when you're interacting with the various patients or different people that you, I guess, would like to share that gave like kind of insight or motivation that reminded you of like why you are doing what you're doing.
I have one. I remember my first time seeing a patient in the hospital, because we do a thing called societies where like once a week we practice our clinical skills and we go into the hospital and practice interviewing and physical exams with some patients. And my first time doing that, the patient was a Black woman, and the student with me was she's Colombian. And the patient said to her, she goes, "I hope like you guys know how important it is that you're doing this and that you're being a representation for us." And that just really it was like my first day of school, and I was like, this is amazing. Like that really put things into perspective of how big of an impact we can have, because it's easy to forget that sometimes. And but yeah, I think that's something I'll always remember and I'll always kind of be a source of inspiration for me, just all the appreciation she had for me.
Yeah, I think from what I've experienced thus far in our program, we do what they call client simulations. So while they aren't like technically real clients in a real patient situation, they they are very good at playing their parts. We've gotten lots of different experiences, lots of different types of clients, clients that are hardcore, clients that are overly emotional, clients that are like really willing to do what you want. And I think that it's been a learning experience for me to just know that like it's an important part of my job, because for me, the animal can't talk to me. So, the client is a huge part of what we do. And so those experiences have all like kind of like shaped and have been shaping how I can become a better doctor and a better veterinarian, to be open to how people are going to respond, and kind of like teach myself like, this is how people are feeling. And more often than not, people are afraid for their animal's life. So like, don't respond to what they're saying or doing to you in a way that like they're trying to be mean or disrespectful. They're just scared. And unfortunately, out of fear, people respond a certain way. So that's kind of an experience I've gotten. And then kind of the same thing as Melissa, I've had people tell me that their kids are trying to become veterinarians that are like little Black girls that see me and are excited that somebody looks like them. And it's really nice to know that I'm like, inspiring some little girl to want to go into the profession, and that they feel comfortable to say that they see a face that looks like them.
All right, thank you for that. So did you guys get in your first time playing? And if not, what was your backup plan?
They get in with our first time applying. Is that what you said?
Sorry, if you didn't, so like if you did not get in when you applied your first time, what would have been your backup plan?
For me, I probably would have just stayed in the clinic working. I think that the experience I was getting was definitely helpful. And I had a great mentor at the clinic that I came from. I still talk to her every day, and she's fully supported me in my journey to becoming a vet. So I would have just continued working. Obviously, I would have been very sad, but I think continuing to get the experience and be in a field that I wanted to be in was what I would have done. And I was saving up money for school. So I live off of like the savings that I made while working 2 jobs before coming to school. So I think that's just something I would have continued building as well.
So I also did get in on my first try to podiatry school, but as a backup, so when I was working right before I started school, I was working for the U of A, so I was able to take classes for reduced tuition. So I was taking some public health classes just for fun, just to see, you know, how I liked it. So I think I would have, if I hadn't gotten in, I think I would have stayed on, worked more part-time, and I think I would have gone to school full-time and gotten a degree probably in public health at a master's level. I still hope to do that someday when I have the chance after residency, if I can, because I think it really helps to learn about things outside of the hospital. So I think that would have been my backup plan, but I don't think I would have quit my job either, because the exposure I was getting there in the limb salvage clinic was pretty great for me to like move forward. It still helps me even today. So it was very valuable.
I got asked this. Oh, go ahead.
It's okay, go ahead.
I got asked this question a few times throughout my journey to get here. And it was always, you know, well, if I didn't get in, I would just apply again because this is what I want to do. You never know what they're looking for each year. I mean, there's the general, like, you know, research and clinical experience, but I think that it's just important that when you feel ready to apply, you apply. And if you don't get in, you just apply again. I think there's times in life when you come up against certain obstacles and you have the opportunity to say, okay, well, is this an obstacle because it's just not what I meant to do? Or is this just to make me stronger? And that's how I looked at it, because again, I was told this multiple times. So just keep going. If this is what you want to do, keep going.
I was gonna say that I did get in my first time, but I did have a backup plan because I feel like it is pretty common to not get in on your first try. And from what I had heard from other students that were already in school is that that they had done like a master's program or a post-bac at either usually at a school that they wanted to go to. A lot of students actually in my class did a post-bac to help them get in on the second time. So that's what I would have done if I didn't get in the first try.
Yeah, I got it on my first try, but yeah, I'm like Angela. My plan was just to apply again if I didn't do it. And to be honest, when I applied the first time, I feel like probably everyone does this, but convinces yourself that you're not going to get in just because it's so hard. And when I got the acceptance call, I was like, that week I was already like reworkshopping my application. Like I thought I was going to apply again. So yeah, that was just, I didn't really think of a backup plan. I don't know if that's naive of me, but it was just, I was just going to plan to reapply until I got in.
That's great. And I really admire like all of your guys' perseverance. And I think it's amazing that each of you were able to pursue your passion so quickly. As we're wrapping up, well, we have about 10 minutes left in the panel. I wanted to ask, what advice would you give to any of our current undergraduate students that are hoping to pursue similar pathways, and especially those from a diverse background that might not have the same influence or any kind of like role model to look up to in that specific field?
I think my biggest advice is don't compare yourself to others, because I spent a lot of my time doing that in undergrad at U of A. I was like, oh, my friends didn't get into this school and they have better grades than me, or like I spent a lot of time doing that. So I really put myself down and I really thought I wasn't going to get into school. And I ended up getting into schools that they didn't get into. And Also, if you get a C, it's okay. It is okay if you get a C. I really beat myself up about that. And it's going to be okay. And definitely join the pre-health clubs, pre-dental, pre-med, pre-veterinary. All of those clubs are so super helpful. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm the first one in my family to go past high school. So I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what the application process was like. I didn't even know I had to take a test getting into school. So definitely having that community support group at U of A was something that was so helpful to me. And I still am super close with those people to today. So
Yeah, I'll kind of
I'm similar. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You can go.
The box is like hopping around. I was like, who's talking? I don't know. Go
You
ahead.
can.
You want me to go? Okay. Sorry. So I also am a first generation student. I don't have any doctors in my family. I will be the first. I'm the oldest out of 8 kids. I have a huge role to fill to be a role model. Everything I learned on the spot at U of A from other vet students. So something I would say is like, just reach out to your community. There's people going through the same thing that you are. I learned more from the students in the same program than I did from my advisor, and my parents couldn't help me. They didn't know, they were relying on me. And don't be afraid to do your research. Don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions if you can, and get involved in your community and your environment. I did a lot. I kind of like being a busybody. I worked a full-time job. I was in school. I joined a sorority, and that sorority has had my back since I've been in that sorority, so, and they even have some of them that have like friends and family that are in the field that I'm going into. And they're always like, if you ever need anything, let me know. A lot of them don't even know me. It'll just be by association of being a part of the same organization. And it's a huge family to have and good networking to have. Participate in what you can just to diversify your application, just to get more experience, but also like Malia said, don't compare yourself. I didn't know I was going to get into a program or join a program that was brand new, like the first class, like that. I had no idea. I had applied to 7 other schools before that application even opened, and always set a goal. And it's okay if you don't get in the first time. Just know, what can you do to make it better the next time? What can you do? And do your research on your programs. Make sure you find a program that's going to fit for you. Don't put yourself in a situation that you feel like you're going to be miserable and not recognized, and not feel like you have the support, because the support in these programs, because they're so taxing, is very, very important. So make sure you surround yourself with people that are going to support you, but also put yourself in a program that's going to support your success.
Yeah, I was gonna hop on what they said about just finding people in the same position as you are, even in the position where you want to be. And I think having like a mentor is so important. And I think my mentors have helped me so much. Like, reach out to people, join clubs, ask if they know anyone in the school that you want to go to, and then just don't be ashamed to just ask questions. Like when I was an undergrad, I had like 3 mentors that were in medical school at the time, and they put me in contact with people to shadow. I was able to get published with one of them. Like, don't be ashamed to ask, because you never know what can come out of these situations and who you're talking to and who you're networking with. And so I think just put yourself out there is my biggest advice, and just find those people. Like, if anyone wants to email me, I'd be happy to help you guys out with anything. And I can put my email in the chat, because I benefited from people like that did that to me. So I would love to help anyone if they need anything or have questions regarding that, because I think having people in your group is very important.
Yeah, I completely agree with them too. And another thing I would say is like, don't be afraid to do something that you feel that you're not completely familiar with. So like, for me, podiatry was so new. Not even today, a lot of people don't know what podiatry is, what that field is, what the DPM degree even is. I didn't either. But I didn't let that stop me, because I knew that what I was seeing the doctors in my clinic do, like I wanted to be that person. So I did my research, I asked questions, I asked to shadow other podiatrists, and I got my questions answered. And you should never be afraid to ask for help and ask for those questions, because it doesn't show that, oh, that you're an idiot or you don't know anything. It just shows your curiosity and your dedication to wanting to be better at something, to wanting to pursue something. So don't be afraid to, jump into a little bit of the unknown. You might be pleasantly surprised. Like, you never know what's in store for you. So that's exactly what I did when I took my job at the limb salvage clinic. And I mean, here I am. So, don't be afraid of that. And I'm also happy to share my contact info. If anyone has any questions, guys, please feel free to reach out anytime.
One point of advice I would say is to get involved with pre-health as soon as you can, because I also had no idea what I was doing the majority of my way here. Didn't know what classes to take, didn't know about research, clinical experience, all of that. I really did most of that on my own. And so when I met Josie, she really, everything fell into place. So I highly recommend that. And I really don't mean to sound cheesy, but the whole be yourself, it's real and it's important. It took the whole application process to kind of do a self-reflection and look at how everything I have experienced, even if it wasn't related to the medical field at all, has really brought me to this point. So everyone has a unique path, and it's really important to remember that and honor that. And also, I know I mentioned the statistics earlier about Native American representation in the medical field, and that can be very discouraging, but you can also look at it the way I did, which is it gives me an opportunity to pave the way for other people behind me. So it's all about perspective, and I just wish everyone the best of luck and believe in yourself.
Thank you all for sharing that. That was really inspirational. So thank you so much. We do have time for one question if anyone has a question for the panelists. Okay, cool. Well, I just want to thank our panelists for taking the time to be part of our 2022 virtual Health Professions Expo. Our next panel will begin at 5. Yeah, 5. And it'll be the Health Professions student panelist. And this one's, we're going to have people from UCLA. We're still going to have veterinary. It's going to be like pretty much the same thing, but like a bigger panel. So you're all welcome to come back for that. So thank you for coming today.